In a dusty prison cell deep in the heart of an ancient kingdom, a man sits in silence. Chains wrapped around his wrists, his face marked by time and torment. He has killed. He has stolen. He has broken every law, every sacred code. Tomorrow, at sunrise, he will die. But tonight, he thinks of his mother. He sees her tear-streaked face from a memory buried deep within. He remembers the warmth of her hand, the lullabies she once hummed, the way her eyes lit up when he smiled as a boy. And in that dark cell, just moments before dawn, something strange stirs. He whispers, "I wish I could undo it. I wish I had done better. May no mother ever suffer because of someone like me." Just a thought, just one. But that single thought, pure, sincere, untainted by ego, echoes through the fabric of the cosmos like the striking of a great bell. Somewhere, in realms beyond what the eye can see, karmic winds shift. The weight of lifetimes trembles, and a crack of light breaks open in the walls of his destiny. You see, we've been told that karma is a ledger, cold, unforgiving, that one bad deed must be paid with one bad result, like cosmic accounting. But the Buddha taught something far more alive, far more profound. He taught that the mind is the forerunner of all things, that a single intention, if born from genuine compassion, from deep remorse, or from awakening, has the power to dissolve mountains of darkness. Not symbolically, literally, because karma isn't stone, it's seed, and seeds can be burned before they grow. We often imagine that redemption must be grand, that to undo our wrongs we need decades of penance, years of monkhood, or supernatural miracles. But the miracle has always been this, the direction of the heart. A robber turned saint, a tyrant turned servant, a lost soul found by the light of a single moment of truth. In the Buddhist tradition, these are not myths, they are roadmaps, signs pointing to a truth so few dare to believe. The past is heavy, but it is not locked. And the key, it has always been in your next thought. We live our lives thinking our greatest power lies in action, in what we do, say, or own. But that's only the surface. Beneath every action is an impulse, beneath every word a thought, and beneath every thought a choice. And it's in that invisible space, before the action, before the reaction, where our freedom lives. You don't have to change the world to change your karma. You just have to change the current of your mind. The Buddha once said, "As rain does not fall on a well-roofed house, so evil does not enter the mind trained in right thought." Right thought is not merely positive thinking. It is not self-help fluff or empty affirmations. It is precision, integrity, clarity of heart. A thought born from wisdom, from understanding the nature of suffering, can do what lifetimes of empty rituals cannot. Because karma responds to intention, not just action. Let's pause here. Think back to your hardest moment, your most bitter regret. What would have changed if in that moment you had held one good thought? Not a fantasy, not denial, but just a deep wish. May this pain stop here. May I do no harm from this place. May I understand what I could not before. That thought alone could have been the spark, the shift, the beginning of another path. This is not to say that karma is erased like chalk on a board. No, but karma is fluid, dynamic. It bends, it reacts, it transforms when met with honest awareness. And there are thoughts, certain rare thoughts that, when arising from the deepest parts of the heart, don't just shift our own trajectory. They ripple outward, touching people we've never met, altering outcomes we may never see. Because every thought is a seed. And while 10,000 seeds of anger, greed, and ignorance may be buried in your past, it only takes one flame to burn them all. But not just any flame. A flame of sincerity, a flame of understanding, a flame of love that asks for nothing in return. And if all of this feels abstract, too mystical, too poetic, then look to your own life. Was there ever a time when someone's small kindness changed everything? A moment when a stranger's gentle word pulled you back from the edge. That was their one good thought, and you were the field where it bloomed. Now you know. You can do the same. You can plant that kind of seed in your own heart and in the hearts of others. Not tomorrow, not when you're perfect. Now, because the weight of 1,000 karmas can be lifted by the lightness of one pure intention. In the space between this breath and the next, what thought are you choosing? Let that be the one that shakes your own universe. Let that be the one that starts to set you free. And when we trace back where karma truly begins, we discover that it does not begin with what we do, but with what we think. And somewhere in that realization, another journey quietly unfolds. Let's imagine a moment. A man stands at a crossroads. To the left, a path of vengeance. To the right, a path of mercy. His fists are clenched. His heart burns. He remembers the face of the one who betrayed him. And the thought rises, he will pay. But just before he moves, another thought appears. What if I choose peace instead? He pauses, his breath softens, and slowly he walks away. What changed his fate? Not divine intervention, not some cosmic miracle, but a thought. Just one. All karma begins in the mind. Before the sword is drawn, before the word is spoken, before the step is taken, there is always a thought. In the teachings of the Buddha, this is called manikarma, mental karma. It is not an afterthought. It is the origin, and it holds more power than most of us dare to believe. Mind is the forerunner of all things, the Buddha said in the Dhammapada. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts we make the world. This isn't metaphor, this is law. If the body is the actor on stage and speech is the script, then mind is the director, the playwright, the silent force behind the curtain. Every time we think, we plant. And those seeds, no matter how small, how fleeting, fall into the fertile soil of the mind stream. Some will wither, some will grow, some will wait lifetimes for the right conditions to bloom. But none are ever truly lost. That's the terrifying beauty of karma. It remembers. But here's the part we forget, it also forgives. Because karma is not a punishment system. It is not a cosmic judge with a ledger and a gavel. It is a mirror, a teacher, a reflection, and most importantly, it is changeable. Let me tell you a story from the Buddha's time. There was once a man named Devadatta. He was brilliant, charismatic, and consumed by jealousy. He plotted to harm the Buddha, even attempted to kill him. He created schisms, lies, confusion, and yet, the Buddha never spoke of him with hate, never called him irredeemable. Because the Buddha understood, Devadatta's karma was not his fate, it was his fuel. A fire that, if seen clearly, could be turned into light. And in some traditions, it is said that even Devadatta will one day become a Buddha. Why? Because even the darkest mind is just one thought away from awakening. You see, most people believe their destiny is shaped by what happens to them. Their childhood, their traumas, their relationships, their failures. But the Dharma says otherwise. Destiny is not what happens to you. Destiny is how you respond to what happens to you. And every response begins with a thought. Pause here. Right now, ask yourself, what are the dominant thoughts that drive my life? Are they fear, doubt, blame? Or are they patience, compassion, resilience? This isn't philosophy, it's architecture, because your thoughts are bricks, and each one lays the path beneath your feet. Let's go deeper. In Abhidharma, the ancient Buddhist psychology, karma is born not just from thinking, but from repetition. One angry thought may pass like a cloud, but anger fed daily becomes a storm. One greedy thought may dissolve, but greed indulged becomes a way of life. This is how habits form. This is how personality forms. This is how karma takes shape, not in a single thought, but in the river of thoughts we swim in every day. But don't despair, because if repetition created the storm, repetition can also bring the calm. One compassionate thought today, one patient thought tomorrow, one vow to not react but reflect. These are the stitches that repair the soul, not grand gestures, not epic sacrifices, but small, unseen moments of mental courage. There's a saying in the Zen tradition, move the mind and 10,000 things move with it. Want to change your life? Don't start with your job. Don't start with your diet. Don't start with your relationships. Start with your mind, because the outer world is just the echo of your inner world. And karma doesn't respond to image, it responds to intention. So here's the real question. What kind of world are your thoughts creating right now? Are they birthing peace or tension? Are they planting patience or reactivity? Are they leading you toward awakening or toward more suffering? You don't need to answer out loud. Your life already tells the story, but the good news, you can write a new story starting with the next thought you choose. And if you wonder, is it really that simple? Just think good thoughts and karma is solved. No, it's not about pretending. It's not about coding pain with positivity. It's about honesty, awareness, discipline. It's about recognizing that the mind, when left untrained, becomes your prison, but when trained, it becomes your path to freedom. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, I'm worthless, I'll never change, I've gone too far, remember this, that is karma speaking through habit, not through truth. And the truth is, you are one thought away from a different destiny. Choose it. People often say, you made your bed, now lie in it. Karma will catch up to you. What's done is done. As if the universe is cold, mechanical, cruelly fair. But that's not what the Buddha taught, because karma isn't a prison, it's a process. And more importantly, it's a process that can be changed. Let's begin with a bold truth. Karma is not fixed. Karma is fluid. It's not an iron law like gravity. It's more like momentum, energy set in motion by thought, word, and deed. But momentum can be redirected. A train may be speeding toward disaster, but pull the lever, change the track, and everything changes, even at the very last moment. In the Angulimala Sutta, the Buddha encountered a murderer. Not just any murderer. Angulimala had killed 999 people. He wore their fingers as a garland around his neck. He was feared by all. He was doomed by karma, or so it seemed. But when he met the Buddha, something shifted. He stopped. He listened. He saw. And in that moment of clarity, remorse, and surrender, his karma turned. He became a monk. He walked the path, and eventually he reached liberation. Now ask yourself, how can someone with a mountain of blood on their hands reach enlightenment? The answer lies in the deepest truth of the Dharma. The power of the present is greater than the weight of the past. If karma was fixed, if destiny could not be altered, then even the Buddha's teaching would be useless. But the Buddha offered the world something radical, hope. Let's take a breath together. Think of your life, the mistakes, the regrets, the moments you wish you could rewrite. Now consider this. What if you don't have to undo it all? What if you just have to meet it differently now? Not with denial, not with guilt, but with awareness, with responsibility, with transformation. In Buddhist psychology, there's a concept called vipaka, the result of karma. But karma doesn't ripen blindly. It requires conditions. A seed will not grow unless it finds soil, water, sunlight. Likewise, past karma cannot ripen unless the present feeds it. So what happens when the present is filled with mindfulness, compassion, wisdom? The seed may never sprout. It may dry up. It may simply dissolve. You are not bound to suffer your past. You are invited to meet it with a new mind. That's why the Buddha placed so much emphasis on intention. He knew the past would visit us through memories, through consequences. But he also knew that our reaction to the past is where new karma is born or ended. Here's another story. A woman once came to the Buddha, devastated by the loss of her child. She begged him to bring the child back. The Buddha said he would if she could bring him a mustard seed from any household that had never suffered loss. She searched for days. But in every home there was pain, grief, loss. She returned to the Buddha not with a seed but with understanding. That moment of insight didn't erase her pain, but it transformed her suffering into wisdom. And wisdom creates new karma. Lighter karma, liberating karma. Here is the deeper truth: you are not your karma. You are the field where karma unfolds. And just as a field can be polluted, it can also be purified, with awareness, with intention, with one good thought. Let's be clear. Transforming karma isn't about bypassing consequences. It's about facing them with grace. And when you do, something extraordinary happens. The karmic momentum weakens. Because karma is not just about what happens to you. It's about how you hold what happens to you. Hold it with resentment and the cycle continues. Hold it with clarity and the cycle begins to end. There is a Tibetan teaching that says, if you want to know your past karma, look at your current circumstances. If you want to know your future karma, look at your current mind. The key is always now, not next year, not in your next life, now. Because now is where karma is rewritten. So the question is not, what karma do I carry? But, what karma am I creating in this moment? That moment when you choose kindness instead of anger, patience instead of judgment, self-compassion instead of shame. That moment is karma transformed. And those moments matter more than you know. So if you've made mistakes, if you've hurt others, if you've hurt yourself, don't believe the voice that says you're doomed. Don't let the past script your future. Instead, begin again. Not with grand gestures, but with a single clear thought: I choose to wake up. I choose to meet this pain with love. I choose to break the cycle right here, right now. And just like that, the lever turns, the train changes tracks, the karma shifts, and your life begins anew. There's an old Zen story. A monk walking along a mountain trail sees a starving tiger. The beast is thin to the bone, its ribs stretched tight against its skin, and by its side, 3 newborn cubs barely alive. The monk knows the tiger won't survive. Neither will her children, and she's too weak to hunt. So the monk kneels. He closes his eyes, and with the deepest compassion, he offers his body. In the stillness that follows, it's said that the forest wept. And somewhere in the unseen realms, karmic storms were calmed. Now most of us are not called to that level of sacrifice. But in truth, you don't need to give your body to purify karma. Sometimes all it takes is a single, sincere drop of compassion. One gentle thought that says, may you be free from suffering. May no living being feel abandoned. May I not add to the pain of this world. It may seem small, insignificant, soft, but don't be fooled. That single thought carries the weight of mountains, because compassion is not weakness. Compassion is the force that bends karma toward liberation. In the teachings of Mahayana Buddhism, the Bodhisattva is not defined by superpowers or perfection. They are defined by one thing: bodhicitta, the awakened heart, moved by boundless compassion for all beings. This heart does not wait to be pure. It does not wait to be free of mistakes. It simply turns toward the world and says, let me carry some of this pain. Let me be of use. Let my life not add to the suffering here. That intention alone, even if not fully realized, begins to purify the karma of lifetimes. You see, compassion is not an emotion. It's an energy. And when that energy moves through the mind, the speech, the body, it rewrites everything. Not just your own destiny, but the destinies of those around you. Let me tell you a story, a true one. In a hospital ward in Southeast Asia, an elderly nurse cared for dying patients. Many of them were poor, forgotten, alone. But every evening she would go bed to bed, hold their hands, whisper prayers, sometimes simply sit beside them in silence. When asked why, she replied, "Because no one should die feeling unloved. If I can be the last kindness they know, maybe their next life will be lighter." She wasn't famous. She didn't write books. But hundreds, maybe thousands of souls passed from this life with a little less fear because of her. One drop of compassion in an ocean of suffering, but it changed the current. This is the secret the world has forgotten. Compassion is a karmic solvent. It doesn't erase the past, but it softens its sharp edges. It soothes the wounds. It plants flowers in the ashes. Even a thought, a real, genuine wish for another's well-being, leaves a trail of light in the unseen layers of your karma. In the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the Buddha said, "Let one cultivate boundless love toward all beings, above, below, and across, without obstruction, without hate, without fear." Why? Because such a heart cannot coexist with heavy karma. The light of compassion burns too brightly, and the shadows simply dissolve. Now listen closely. Your compassion doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. A whisper of mercy for someone who hurt you. A pause of empathy in the middle of anger. A silent prayer for a stranger you'll never meet. These are not small things. They are turning points. They are bridges between lifetimes. They are mirrors that reflect the Buddha in you. You may wonder, can my tiny kindness really undo so much pain? Yes, because karma is not measured in weight. It is measured in vibration. And a single thought, if born from compassion, vibrates higher than 1,000 thoughts of fear or hate. It changes your energy. It changes your choices. It changes what you attract, what you create, what you become. So the next time you feel helpless, powerless, drowning in a world that feels too cruel, too heavy, remember this: you don't need to save the world. You just need to hold one drop of compassion in your heart. That drop will ripple. That ripple will reach further than you know. And in some distant life, some stranger may whisper, "I don't know why, but I feel a little less alone today." And it will be because of you. We often think of thoughts as nothing, fleeting, invisible, gone the moment they appear. But in the eyes of both ancient sages and modern scientists, this could not be further from the truth. Because thought is energy. And energy, no matter how subtle, moves, vibrates, shapes reality. In Buddhism, this isn't just metaphor, it's the root of karma. The Buddha taught, with our thoughts we make the world. But what does that mean in the language of vibration? Let's go deeper. Everything vibrates. From the densest mountain to the lightest whisper of your breath, everything is frequency. Even your body. Each cell, each atom, is a symphony of vibration. Now imagine your mind. When you think a thought, you're broadcasting a signal. A signal made not of words, but of vibrational energy. It moves through the subtle layers of your being, mind, heart, body, and beyond. And it ripples outward, shaping the field around you. Modern science is catching up. In quantum physics, we now understand that consciousness affects reality, not metaphorically, literally. In the famous double-slit experiment, the act of observation itself, the presence of a conscious mind, changes how particles behave. This is not mysticism, it is measurement. What we expect influences what becomes real. Your thoughts are not private. They are vibrational instructions being sent into the field of existence. And here's the most astonishing part. High vibration thoughts carry more karmic weight. What does that mean? It means a single moment of sincere love, of true compassion, of deep forgiveness, can vibrate so powerfully that it cancels out thousands of lower frequency thoughts. Just like a tuning fork can realign a whole instrument. A pure thought radiating truth can harmonize lifetimes of karmic dissonance. Think of water. Drop a stone, you get ripples. Now imagine dropping a burning coal, you get heat, disturbance, maybe even damage. But what if you drop a lotus flower? Stillness, grace, harmony. Your thoughts are those drops, and karma is the water. The vibration you send becomes the world you live in. Now let's bring it back to you when you sit in stillness and you generate one thought. May all beings be well. May this pain I feel not be passed on. May I learn to forgive. You're not just saying words, you're radiating frequency. You're sending vibrations through the subtle body, through your environment, through the field of karma itself, and every sentient being is affected. This is why Tibetan monks chant, why Japanese Zen masters sit in silence, why loving kindness meditation is taught again and again, because each method is a way to tune the mind, to align with the highest vibrations, to become a transmitter of light, rather than noise, fear, or anger. In neuroscience, there's a term, neuroplasticity. It means your brain rewires itself based on repeated thought. In Buddhism, there's a deeper truth, karmaplasticity. Your life rewires itself based on repeated intention. Every thought sends a signal. Every signal sets a frequency. Every frequency becomes your next karma. So the question is no longer, am I creating karma? The question is, what vibration am I sending right now? And more importantly, what world am I tuning myself into? You see, the universe is not punishing or rewarding you. It's simply responding, echoing back the music you play with your mind. So choose wisely, not out of fear, but out of love, because one beautiful thought can sing louder than 1,000 regrets, and one vibration of truth can heal a field of pain. There is a moment in every human life when the heart becomes heavy, when the mind quiets, and all that's left is a whisper of remorse. We see clearly, sometimes painfully, the things we did, the words we said, the harm we caused, knowingly or not. And we ask ourselves the ancient question, can I ever undo what I've done? In Buddhism, the answer is not simple, but it is profound. Yes, karma is real, but so is transformation. Because there is one thing more powerful than 1,000 unwholesome acts, and that is a single moment of sincere remorse. The Buddha never taught that we are doomed by our past. He taught that we are shaped by our present intention. What we did yesterday may have planted seeds, but what we do now determines which ones will grow. And the act of confessing, of facing our shadow, of bowing to the truth without defense, without denial, that moment becomes a sacred turning point. In the Mahayana tradition, this is known as K-1E63, a M, a macron. The power of regret, of repentance, not in the sense of shame, but in the sense of awakening. To regret is to see clearly. To confess is to release. To feel remorse is to purify the heart. In the great sutras, it is said, even the darkest karma can be lightened by the lamp of honest remorse. Because when you genuinely regret, when your heart trembles at the pain you've caused, that vibration dissolves the energetic residue of your misdeeds. It's like a fire that burns old karma into ash. But beware, guilt is not the same as remorse. Guilt keeps you stuck. It loops, replays, binds. Remorse is movement. It is the first step toward freedom. So how do we practice this? The Buddha offered a path, 4 steps, 4 powers, 4 medicines for karmic healing. Let's walk them together. First, the power of reliance. Find refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, in the Sangha, in truth, in clarity, in the wish to awaken. You don't walk this path alone. Second, the power of regret. Not to wallow in guilt, but to look honestly, to say within yourself, what I did was unskillful. I see the suffering it caused, and I wish to never cause that harm again. Even if the world never knows. The heart knows, and the heart can begin to heal. Third, the power of resolution. Make a vow. From this moment forward, I will try to act with wisdom. I will not repeat the harm. This vow is a seed. Plant it deeply. And finally, the power of practice. Do good, be kind, meditate, recite sutras, care for others. Let your daily life become a field where good karma blooms. Each step becomes a way to transmute the past. You see, karma is not an iron chain. It's a shadow that disappears when you turn toward the light. And that light, it begins with one moment of truth, one tear of real remorse, one breath of deep confession, one vow to become better, not out of shame, but out of love. So if you carry guilt, if your past feels heavy, remember you are not defined by what you've done. You are defined by what you do now, and right now. You can bow, you can breathe. You can forgive yourself, not because it erases the past, but because it rewrites the future. There comes a moment when everything falls silent. The noise of the world fades, the body weakens, the breath slows, and death stands quietly at the threshold. In that sacred moment, when all that we've clung to begins to fall away, only one thing remains: the state of our mind, what we think, what we feel, what we remember, what we regret, what we release, all becomes magnified in the final breath. And yet, within that breath, lies a possibility more powerful than 1,000 lifetimes. One good thought. There's an old story, told in monasteries across the world, of a murderer, a man who lived a life steeped in violence. He had taken lives, broken hearts, deceived many. But in his final moment, as the darkness closed in, he saw clearly for the first time. Tears filled his eyes, and with a trembling voice he whispered, "May all beings be free from the suffering I've caused." And he died with that thought. Not hatred, not fear, but compassion. And in that moment, something shifted in the unseen realm. Because in Buddhism, we are not bound by our past. We are liberated by our present. One good thought, pure, selfless, unconditioned, can become a torch that lights the path beyond death. This is not fantasy. This is Dharma. The Buddha said, "Mind is the forerunner of all things. As a person thinks, so shall they become." At the moment of death, our deepest habits rise, but so can our deepest truths. And if, in that moment, we can awaken, even briefly, to love, to clarity, to selfless intention, that single thought becomes a raft across the river of samsara. You may wonder, how can one good thought erase lifetimes of misdeeds? And the answer is, it doesn't erase, it transforms. Because karma is not a ledger of punishment, it is a current of energy, and energy can shift in a single heartbeat. Picture a cup of ink dropped in water. It stains, it spreads. But then, you begin to pour clear water, one drop at a time, and eventually, the darkness fades. That one drop of clarity at the right moment can alter the entire flow. This is why monks meditate daily, why practitioners chant sutras, do good deeds, and train the mind, not just for life, but for the moment of death, because death is not the end, it is the door. And the thought we carry into that door shapes what lies beyond it. So ask yourself, if you died tonight, what thought would you leave with? Would it be anger, fear, attachment, or could you, even in your last breath, muster one simple prayer? May I let go. May all beings be free. May I be born into wisdom. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. That's why we practice. Every moment is training. Every thought is preparation. Every act of kindness is a blueprint for your final breath. Because the mind remembers. And here lies the mystery. The last thought before death becomes the first seed of the next life. So let us plant seeds now. Let us live with the remembrance that the ending is never truly the end. It is simply a mirror reflecting the soul's final choice. And in that reflection, may we see not fear, but light, not grasping, but letting go, not punishment, but freedom. They say karma is like seeds. Each thought, each word, each action, whether rooted in kindness or cruelty, plants a seed deep in the soil of our mind. Most of the time, we forget them. We walk on unaware, as if no seed had ever been sown. But seeds do not die with forgetfulness. They wait, silently, patiently, until the conditions are right, and they sprout. A harsh word planted in anger may return as loneliness. A selfish act buried in secrecy may bloom as misfortune. Even the smallest thought, if sown with hatred, can grow into a forest of sorrow. But here's what they don't often tell you. One single fire can burn 1,000 seeds. One spark of wisdom, one flame of compassion, one true, selfless, unshakably pure thought can set ablaze the entire karmic field. The Buddha once said, "A single moment of right understanding is more powerful than 100 years of blind rituals." Because in that moment, you are not just behaving better, you are becoming different. You are no longer the soil in which old seeds can grow. You are fire. Let's step back and imagine this more clearly. Picture a dark room. Inside it, thousands of seeds, each containing a future version of your suffering. Now imagine a single candle lit with true understanding. With that one light, you begin to see clearly, and the seeds begin to dry. And when the heart ignites, truly ignites, with the fire of remorse or compassion or awakening, those seeds no longer sprout. They burn. This is the silent revolution of the spiritual path. It doesn't require external drama. No audience, no applause, just you. And a single thought, born from the deepest part of your being. Have you ever wept? Not out of pain, but from suddenly seeing all the harm you've caused. That kind of weeping is sacred. It is fire. Or the moment you truly wish happiness for someone who once hurt you. That too is fire. Or when you sit still and let the ego die. Letting go of being right. Letting go of being important. Just to ease someone's suffering. That's not weakness. That's ignition. The ancient texts call this the fire of wisdom. It is not angry. It is not violent. It is not loud. But it burns clean. And once it touches the karmic seeds, they lose their power. Because fire does not negotiate, it transforms. So if you've made mistakes, and who among us hasn't, don't despair, don't drown in guilt, don't get lost in fear. Instead, light the fire, start where you are, with whatever clarity, compassion, or courage you can muster. Because that one flicker, if it's real, can burn down an entire forest of karma. And this, dear listener, is the beauty of Dharma. It doesn't deny your past, but it doesn't chain you to it either. You are not the sum total of your worst thoughts. You are the one who can light the match. So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed by regret, by anger, by shame, remember, the seeds may be many, but the fire only needs to be one. And in that one good thought, held with sincerity, ignited with awareness, and offered to all beings, you just may burn away 1,000 karmic storms before they ever fall. There are days when everything seems to fall apart. The world feels heavy. Your mind is noisy. The weight of regret, fear, doubt, unbearable. You try to meditate, but your thoughts race like wild horses. You try to pray, but the words feel hollow. You try to breathe, but it feels like you're drowning from within. This is the storm. In Buddhist practice, we don't avoid the storm. We learn to sit inside it. Because the storm is not the enemy, it's the teacher. In moments like these, we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to recite scriptures flawlessly. We don't need to fix our entire life in one breath. We just need one pure thought, one simple, sincere, luminous thought, held tightly, like a candle in the wind. Maybe it's the thought, may I not harm today? Or may all beings be free from suffering? Or just, I am still here. I will try again. You see, the mind doesn't need to be flawless. To be free, it just needs one thread of clarity, stronger than the chaos that surrounds it. A monk once told the story of a man lost in a raging river. He was being pulled under, fighting to breathe, his life flashing before him. And just before he was about to give up, he remembered his teacher's words, "When you can do nothing else, hold on to one thought of kindness." In that moment, the man stopped fighting. He let go of the fear and focused on a single thought: may all beings be safe. No longer struggling for himself, but offering his final breath for others. And then the river calmed. He didn't die, because sometimes a single pure thought can be stronger than 1,000 crashing waves. You and I, we live in a world of storms. News, noise, distractions, conflict, comparison. The modern world is a perfect breeding ground for confusion and karmic reactivity. But amidst that whirlwind, you still have a choice. You still have the power to anchor your mind in purity, even for one moment. And that moment matters more than you know, because thoughts become intentions. Intentions become actions. Actions become karma, and karma becomes your future. But there's something even deeper when you hold one pure thought. In the middle of your darkest hour, you're not just saving yourself, you're radiating light in a place most people give up. And that light, that one luminous drop in the ocean, changes the entire field. There's a reason bodhisattvas are said to shine brightest in samsara, because they don't wait for calm to practice. They practice inside the fire, inside the noise, inside the heartbreak. And so must we. It could be the thought, I forgive. Or, let me be of service. Or, let this pain awaken wisdom. Whatever it is, hold it, even if your hands are shaking, because sometimes what separates suffering from liberation is not 10,000 hours of effort, but one moment of stillness in the middle of chaos. So when your life feels like it's falling apart, when your past haunts you, your mind attacks you, and the world makes no sense, don't try to fix it all. Don't try to be a saint. Just find one pure thought and hold it like your life depends on it, because sometimes it does. Maybe you've carried pain for years. Maybe your mind has been wrapped in guilt, regret, anger, or a sense of unworthiness that never quite fades. You've tried to forget. You've tried to run. You've tried to change. But the heaviness still lingers, like a shadow, like old karma, like a chain made of thoughts you didn't even know you were still holding. But then, one day you sit still, no more trying, no more running, just being. And in that silence, you find something unexpected, not a voice, not a light, not a miracle, but a simple, quiet thought: may I be free. Lord, may I forgive myself. Lord, may I let go now. And suddenly, without effort, without ceremony, something shifts, not outside, not in the world, but inside. Something old dissolves, something heavy breaks, and for the first time in a long time, you feel light. That was the thought that saved you. And here's the truth: it doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. In the end, karma is not a life sentence, it's a living system, always moving, always responding to the quality of your heart in this very moment. You don't need 10 years to purify your past. You need one honest moment of clarity, of kindness, of love, right now. So if you're waiting for a sign, if you're hoping for a second chance, if you're wondering when to begin again, this is it. This is your thought. This is your moment. This is your doorway to freedom, because one good thought, born from truth, carried by sincerity, and held with mindfulness, can burn through 10,000 lifetimes of sorrow. So let it arise. Even if it's small, even if you're scared, even if it's the only light left in the dark, let it arise. Now, if this message touched something quiet in you, if it reminded you of a truth you already carry, then come walk this path with us. Subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom, where each video is not content, but a companion on your inner journey. Let's keep exploring the teachings that awaken the heart. Together, thank you for being here. May your next thought be the one that sets you free.